Okay, so here's another video. We're going to be going through some more core strengthening. Some of the exercises you're going to be on your back. If you have a Pilates ball, great. If you don't, even just like a thick towel or like a big towel that you've rolled up is also fine. You're also going to want a yoga block or like a thick textbook or something like that. I used to say phone book, but they don't do that anymore. So if you have a phone book, that's amazing. If you don't, yoga block is also fine. So we're going to start off on our tummies. We're going to take the ball or your rolled up towel, place it underneath the shin here. So we're going to start off by taking a nice big belly breath. Think of your tummy coming down onto the floor and then exhaling, picking up the tummy. And again, big inhale. And then exhale, lift it up. And one more time, big inhale. Belly expands. You're going to think of a popsicle melting in the sun. Belly is spreading, and then exhaling, thinking of that popsicle. Picking back up. And one more. Inhale into the tummy. Exhale, pick up the belly. So holding on to that nice core contraction, we're going to think of pressing the ankle down into the ball. We're going to find your glute and lift the thigh off the floor. Bring it back. Inhale. Exhale. Zipper up. Let's do 3 leg lifts. You're going to find your glute. You're going to press the ankle down and let it return. That's 1. And again, holding my core nice and strong here. Return. Finding your glute muscle. You should not be feeling this in your back. And one more here. I think that was 3. Maybe it was 4. I'm not sure. We're going to come back down. Let's do 3 more. Nice big inhale. Exhale. Set your core here. Reach that leg long like someone's pulling on your toe, turning on your glute. And come back. We don't want this hip dropping down to the floor when we lift that leg. Okay, so make sure that you're holding space between the front of your pocket and the floor. One more like that. Reach the leg long and then return. Okay, let's bring that ball over to the other side if you can. I know it's a little bit tricky. And same thing on this side. So nice big inhale into your tummy. Exhale. Finding that core connection. You're going to lift that leg up to a straight position. And then come back down. Big inhale into your tummy. Reset if you have to. Otherwise, you're going to keep going. Okay? You don't have to reset every time. Some people do need a little bit of help to do that. And so you're welcome to reset with every rep. But if you can set and then do 3 reps or 4 or 5, that's also great. Just really depends on what stage of recovery you're at, okay? You might be feeling a little bit of work in your back, but we don't want pain as time goes on, right? So there's a certain amount of endurance required with this exercise. Despite how simple it is, there can be a lot of challenge for some people. So we're going to make sure that if you need to stop after 6 reps or 3 reps even, that you stop, right? We never want to aggravate anything that's going on. Okay, so from here, we're going to get rid of that ball for now. Let's see. I'm going to bring that, put that up here, or you can just kick it off to the side. We're going to focus on the shoulders now. So from here, we're going to think of, again, keeping that low tummy nice and engaged. We're going to float the elbows up off the mat and then back down again. So the movement is really being initiated between my shoulder blades. I'm spreading collarbones nice and wide in the front. And again, pulling those shoulder blades together. Being mindful not to shrug your shoulders up to your ears too much. But at the same time, we don't want to be pinning the shoulder blades down as well, right? Like the idea or the phrase of pinning your shoulder blades down and back, maybe you've heard that before, isn't something that we need to be encouraging for every exercise. I think there's a time and place for some things, but there's such a thing as having your shoulder blades too pinned down. So we're going to keep the shoulder blades free, elbows lifting like a butterfly. One more. And again, this is for endurance, right? So that's why we're doing so many slow reps. From here, we're going to bring the elbows up, and now we're going to lift the forehead off just to a hover. And this is where your low core is really crucial. We have to make sure that the low tummy is protecting the spine. We're coming up to a hover. My gaze is still on my fingertips. And come back down. And again, shoulder blades come together. Hover here and back down. So this is very, very gentle, right? We're starting off with the very basic engagement of the core, making sure that nothing is getting aggravated, making sure that we're really building on endurance versus high intensity repetitions, okay? Because these muscles, these core muscles, they're endurance muscles, right? They're not big power movers. I mean, that's what our squats and our lunges and things are for, right? But when it comes to these guys, they have to be able to work for a long time. All right, so from there, we're going to turn on to our backs. All right, so on our box, we're going to grab our Pilates balls or big rolled up towels, whatever you've got at home. You're going to place that between the knees, and we're going to do a little bit of pelvic rocking. So I want you to imagine that your tailbone is just like the bottom of a rocking chair, and we're going to just gently tip it towards you and then tip it away. So if there was a bowl of water on my tummy, that bowl of water would be spilling towards me and then spilling away. Now here's where it gets tricky. I want to make sure that you're using your abs to do this movement and not your butt. So sometimes when our abs are weak, it's really easy for our butt muscles to kick in and clench, right? Because I can clench my butt and that will give me the same movement, but that means that my core isn't working. So let's try to bias the core a little bit by adding back in that inhale and exhale. So nice big inhale to start, just to prep. And then as you exhale, draw your pubic bone towards your belly button here. The glutes should be relatively relaxed. So again, inhale, a little bit of a lift, maybe a little arching if that's okay for you. And then as you exhale, bring these 2 points closer together. Okay, one more time. Big inhale. And then exhale to rock that rocking chair back towards you without squeezing your butt. All right, that alone can be quite tricky. So once you've nailed that down, we're going to find a little bit of a bridge here by rolling up. So continuing that rocking chair motion right up into a bridge. So what that looks like is nice big inhale to prepare. Exhale, turn on the abs. Peel, 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 peel to come up and then melt back down. So think of the rib cage softening down towards the mat and then releasing. The tricky part is that your glutes will turn on, right? So exhale, abs, 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 and then a little bit of glutes here, more glutes, more glutes, more glutes, and learning to shut off the glutes as the ribs come down, right? So we're going to be lowering down, lengthening the glutes, let them go, let them go, let them go, let them go. Okay. So we still want glutes, just not in the beginning until we start to lift off. And that's the hard part, right? So this is where Pilates is really helpful because we're building body awareness. We not only want the exercises to look a certain way, but they have to feel a certain way as well. Right? So here at the bottom, my butt is relaxed, my abs are relaxed. We're going to turn on the abs, zipper, zipper, a little bit more bum, a little bit more bum, a little bit more bum, a lot more bum at the top. Okay. And then we're going to come down, soften the ribs, and let the glutes lengthen. At the bottom, sit bones are nice and wide here, right at the bottom, right? So being able to differentiate between your core and your glutes can be a challenging skill, and it may take time, and that's okay, right? Let's take the ball away for a moment. We're going to make it a little bit trickier now. So from here, we're going to peel up again, right? So abs, 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 abs. Glutes are on, but we're going to slowly release one glute only. So this glute is still firing, it's still holding at my hips, but this glute's going to let go. Turn it back on, let go of the other side, right? You'd be surprised at how hard this can be for a lot of people. So don't feel bad if you're not getting it on your first try. It's totally fine. I want you to think of your hip bones being strung up to the ceiling. We're going to allow one hip bone to drop down, let that glute be nice and relaxed, and then pull the string back up, release the other side, right? So allowing our bodies to differentiate between core, between glutes, between right glute and left glute is a lot of work. But I promise once you've kind of practiced a little bit more, it will really help as you continue to rehab. Okay, so we also want to be mindful, I should have said, we want to be mindful we're not using the back here, okay? We really want to make sure that that's not getting irritated. If that's the case, then come down a little bit lower. That's perfectly fine. All right. So once we've done our twists, our hip twists, we're going to melt back down, release, and we'll give that a little bit of a stretch. So we're just going to let the hips, sorry, not the hips, but the thighs, just rock side to side, give it a little bit of a stretch here, because that was a lot of work, right? And, you know, all of that endurance work, and as I've been saying all along, can be more taxing than we realize. Okay, so from here, we're going to go into another dead bug prep. So if you've watched my other video, that was a very rudimentary dead bug where I just had one leg up and two hands on the ball. This time, we're going to allow both knees to come up, okay? So in order to do that, we really have to set the core properly. So nice big inhale, exhaling, zipper pubic bone towards your belly button, one leg up to tabletop at a time. I'm gonna go past 90. I'm gonna do a floppy tabletop, especially if this is your first time, right? Other leg comes up to meet it here. If you have a ball, great. If you don't, you can just use your like a dense cushion or something that you've got. We're going to take two hands again on the one side. So I've got the ball on my left knee, two hands on the ball, and now we're going to reach the leg a little bit longer and then bring it back in. So here it's a longer lever. Maybe you can't get all the way out, and that's perfectly fine. So you're just going to go part way and back in, but you're holding and stabilizing by pressing the hands into the ball, or if you don't have a ball, you can always be here. But I do find that having that space between the knee and the thigh to be quite helpful. Okay, so we're only going out part way. If this is still too hard, you know, you can keep that leg down and do a heel slide. That's also perfectly fine. Okay, or if you want to unfold to the ceiling, then you can do that too. Just a little bit of a lever here. Hamstrings are not warmed up. Okay, let's switch sides. So switching over to the other leg, right? We're going to reach just a little bit, bring it back in. I'm keeping my core engaged the whole time. Stop whenever you need to if you feel like you have to reset or if you feel your back coming into play. So we're going to take a nice big inhale to reset and then exhaling. Set your core. If you're still having trouble, you've probably seen me use like a rolled up towel trick. So you can place like a rolled up hand towel underneath your low back and press into the towel. That can help quite a bit for a lot of people, right? So again, we're working on endurance. It's not high load here. It's pretty gentle, right? So this is the thing. I get people to show me their exercises and they do like 2 reps perfectly, and that's great. But then they continue, and by the 10th rep, it's fallen apart, right? And so we really want to make sure that we're not just focusing on like a short number of reps. That in the long term, we're trying to build up, up to 10 reps in 3 sets and whatnot. But then also doing our core work in different positions as well. Okay, so after this, we're going to go on to our sides. I'm going to take this for a minute here, and I'm going to switch for the block. I guess you can use the ball for this. That's perfectly fine. But the block can be a little bit easier. So we're going to give the core a slight break, and we're going to work on some hip strengthening, okay? Because the hips are also crucial when it comes to supporting the pelvic floor. We're going to make sure we set the core here. So nice big inhale, exhaling, zipper up here, gentle squeeze on the block, and we're going to lift the ankle up towards the ceiling. And what we're trying to do is help the pelvic floor by strengthening the muscles that turn the leg inward, okay? So when we're doing this exercise, we wanna make sure that we're not folding or rolling forward. We wanna make sure that we're not losing good alignment on the block, okay? That it's really just this thigh bone spiraling inwards to raise the foot up towards the ceiling. So both hip sockets are stacked, one on top of the other. We're just moving that hip. I'm starting to feel this in my hip complex here, which is exactly where I want to. And then a little bit in my inner thigh as well. Okay, so this is called a reverse clamshell. Let's take the top leg, bend it up, and put it onto the block now. You can also, again, interchangeably use the ball for this exercise as well if that's what you have, okay? So we're using, again, that nice stacked position for the hips, and we're gonna float the bottom leg off the floor. If you find this is really uncomfortable for your hip, I highly suggest like a little bit more padding, which is needed if you're on the bare floor. If you're on a yoga mat and the yoga mat is too thin, then I would suggest like folding it up or just laying down maybe a couple layers of towel if that's easier for you. Okay, there's a reason why Pilates mats are thicker than yoga mats. It's because there's a lot of side lying work where the hips can get a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, so we're raising up this inner thigh. We're strengthening through that adductor. And if this is easy, you're more than welcome to do a little hip circle. But if you're going to be doing those, we're going to be careful not to shorten the waist. So let me stop talking for a minute and demonstrate what I mean. We don't want this waist to be shrinking or shortening, right, when that bottom leg comes up, nor do we want the hip to be moving forward and back when the leg is working, right? So there's a lot of core involved here, right, to keep everything stable. So imagine this rectangular frame from one shoulder to the other and down to the hips. We want to try and hold that rectangular frame intact as much as we can. Okay, so you've done your circles forward, maybe you've done your circles backward, and now we can move on to the other side. Okay, so let's switch over. Yeah, remember to do the other side because that happens a lot. Sometimes I forget. Okay, so again, top leg is folded up onto the block. We have, oh no, we're gonna do clamshells. Let's do that first. See, I already forgot. So we're going to have the block in between the knees here, and we're hovering the top ankle and turning it up towards the ceiling. And this is actually my problematic hip. I'm already starting to feel more work, a little bit of pinching. So if you're feeling pinching, make sure that you're long through your body. Make sure that you're bringing your thigh bone or your femur bone into the socket, right? This is where we don't want to be collapsed forward. We want to make sure that that ball is sitting nice and deep in the socket, right? So I'm pulling it back. I'm staying long in the waist, and that's much better. So I can sort of feel it's much more centered. We're getting some really nice strengthening here, right? And again, if you feel like it's just too much and it's really aggravating you, just make a smaller movement, right? It doesn't have to be nearly as high. It could be a much smaller lift, or you can even do like a sustained hold if that's enough for you, okay? So now we're gonna go into those inner thigh lifts, bringing your block up. Right? Again, hips are still stacked. Let's start off with that hover. My waist is nice and long, right? My core is still engaged, right? So if you have to reset, inhale, and then exhaling, set your core, and then move on to your circles or continue with your lifts, whatever you feel like is manageable for you. And don't forget, like what's manageable one day might be different the next day, and that's perfectly fine, right? So if we're doing circles in one direction, And then we're going to switch to circles in the other direction. Okay, so making sure that we're not losing the alignment in the waist, right? That we're not getting a lot of wobbling through the back. We want this to be nice and still if we can. Okay, so I wasn't counting, so maybe we're aiming for like 10 circles forward and then 10 circles back, something like that. All right, and from here we're going to move up into sitting. All right, so last exercise, this is half roll back with twist. I also call it water skiing. Sometimes that's a little bit easier to understand. So if you imagine you're holding your water ski, I've never been water skiing. If you imagine you're holding your water skiing bar, trapeze, whatever it is, we're gonna start off leaning back, right? So we're engaging the core. Let's start again. Nice big inhale, exhaling to make sure the core is on. From here, we're going to come up and we're going to twist, bring one elbow back, and then scoop the abs to return to that rounded position. Inhale, other way. And then exhaling, coming back, making sure your abs are scooping and turning on. Inhale, exhale, down, and then inhale, and then exhale, round, 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 making sure the movement is coming from your low back and not from your upper back, right? We want to make sure we're making more of like a J or a capital J shape versus like a capital C shape, right? So the lower part of the spine ideally should be a little bit more curved than the top. Okay, I know J is straight at the top, but you get what I mean. Okay, so one more on the other side. Deep scoop and back up. All right, so that's it for today. Let's do a quick little cool down, a little bit of spinal rotation. It's one of my favorites. We're going to come back down to the mat onto our sides. We're not going to be in a fetal position, but more of like an L shape, or a capital L, I should say. So my back is somewhat straight and my thighs are somewhat perpendicular to my spine. Okay, so we're gonna reach one arm up on a diagonal line. Nice big inhale, I'm reaching through the trunk, and exhaling, bringing the arm back, grazing past the thighs, palm faces the ceiling to that 45-degree angle. Inhale, and then exhale, spread that peanut butter or cake icing, whatever you want it to be. Inhale, reach. And then exhale, sweep the arm back like a nice big pendulum. Inhale, and then exhale, back to the front. So there's going to be some rotation happening in the trunk. Let's do the other side, okay, just to wrap up. So again, we're going to find our L shape with the spine. I've got my thighs stacked, one on top of the other, reaching on that 45. Inhale, and then exhale. Bring the arm back all the way, opening space into the ribs as you inhale, right? We're going to think of those ribs opening and coming back through to close, and then opening the ribs again when we get to the front. Big breath into the armpit and exhaling back again. I think my back just cracked. Nice big inhale, and then exhale through this way. Last one here, big inhale, exhale, turn that palm up towards the ceiling. Big stretch here, and then back, and we're done. Okay, so hopefully you found that helpful. Don't forget, the exercises aren't meant to be incredibly intense. That's not the purpose of them. Again, it's meant to build endurance, right? So as you go on and you do bigger things, you start to do some heavy lifting, your core can last throughout your entire gym workout or whatever it is that you choose to do.